We're sitting on the article homepage. Let's start with a vibe check. Jared, what is the current vibe in the market from your standpoint?
The current vibe I had is I had picked a really good time to go away for NFT NYC and vacation. It just seems to be um I feel as though I'm a little bit more optimistic than most. I feel as though we are in a transition point, seeing the amount of capital poured into Squiggles, which we'll hit on, and a few other things. I'm cautiously optimistic right now. I don't think we're out of it. I'm not willing to, plant the flag of the bottom is in for NFTs. But there's a glimpse of optimism in my opinion, and I'm eager to see where we're headed, but I'm also approaching it with a bit of anticipation and anxiety, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take. Sentiment continues to be low. We're seeing some capitulations, some low-priced items hit that we didn't think would get quite that low in Ethereum terms. Let's keep that in mind. In US dollar terms, things are not quite as bad as Ethereum has done quite well. And it's healthy in a market to see some capitulation and some low volume periods, though it may not feel as great. And we don't actually have this in a lot of the stats that we show, although Collector's Corner is working on getting more stats. You also want to look at the median price. The median price can tell you more than just the floor price because often there are people who are trying to exit. And there are wealthy collectors and funds who kind of know what's happening. These are experienced folks in investing in any asset class. And so they're kind of waiting. They're waiting for a little bit more pain and a few other things. So the vibe is down a little bit, I would say, but not significantly different from before. Now let's talk about some blue chip generative art. We're not going to go through the top sales, the top three as we've done before, but we are going to talk about some notable sales. Jared, what have you been seeing moving?
So there's not a lot of big sales this week. A couple in the 20s for Squiggles, which we'll get into, but the highlight was an autoglyph sale. It was kind of cool to see one go. Definitely at 155, it felt like a little bit of a deal relative to the previous sales. However, other than that, it's really just some, I hate to say it, but like runs on maybe I'll call projects that aren't accustomed to having a high number of sales. We saw it in fragments, and then there was a run on Photon Stream that Harvey was pretty, vocal about. And then you also noted, and we were talking about this earlier. There's a run on Voyager. So again, off camera we discussed it. I'm not sure where this goes or what that means for the projects, if it's a spike up or down. But overall, these are projects that see a couple sales every other week, and they're in the double digit sales, 16, 20 plus. So it's interesting to see the attention go back there. But from big sales, you had one Fidenza and the autoglyph that was of note this week.
Yeah, and the other place where we've seen a little bit of liquidity is, I mean, it's not generative art and it's too early to say blue chip, but some of these post photo AI collections saw some runs. One that has been quite popular is called Pink by Simon Rayon. And if you look here at the activity, solid run of sales. A lot of these, I believe, were Kevin Abosh swept something like six of them. So not a lot of sustained stuff going on these days. But that's a great recap. And speaking of not a lot going on, FX Hash, what's been going on there, Jared?
That was a brilliant transition. Outside of some Zancan, obviously the enthusiasm for charcoal seeds still coming in under the params. I mean, you saw a couple Dragon Sale, one Garden Monolith, which sold for 9,000 Tez. It's got to be a recent low. I mean, you see the volume fall off really quickly after those. We'll touch on Juan Rodriguez's release a little bit later, but yeah, just little trickle of some of the more established projects. I mean, you're seeing the same people, Kim Assendorf, Zancan, a little bit of Asakia, but Mapan. It's just a trickle, man. It's slow to say the least. I'm hoping that the collection offer is going to pump up some volume, but I think it's also dropping floors in the near term because people are looking for that liquidity. Good opportunity. I'm an optimist, so for those who are looking at FX hash collections, the and getting an entry point, if you're not super particular about the aesthetic, there's a really good opportunity to put in collection offers. You're seeing a lot of these things get accepted.
That's right. And these collections up here are really the who's who of FX Hash. Like you're seeing what's blue chip. We're seeing quite a flight towards that blue chip art. And that's where there is liquidity and volume and what's really considered the best of the best on these various platforms. It's actually striking uh how consistent that is here. I mean, these are like with the exception of a couple new collections here, Reflejos, Transmontana, Charcoal Seeds. These are like just the top collections that have been for quite a while on FX Hash. So really interesting to see that. And of course, one of the top collections that we always talk about, Squiggles. What's been going on with Squiggles, Jared?
Yeah, this has been the ray of sunshine for me in the generative art space. The volume's up. It was kind of fun to be in the Squiggle DAO Discord a couple of days ago and just see all the sales being ticked off. And it was just fun to watch the sales feed. But volume is up to roughly 510 ETH, which is up from 370 previously. Floor price had a pretty sizable appreciation, relatively speaking, to 9.09, up from 8.3 last week. And then sales up to 53 from 35. Very positive. It's about with the 500 ETH in volume. My gut just tells me that this isn't sustainable for a little bit. Um, but I'm fully anticipating a little bit of a retracement. I don't see it staying up there. My hope is that it does, but you're just seeing it already today. Today's Thursday, the 27th that we're recording. There hasn't been a sale today, so I feel like there's a ebb and flow to it. Some of the highlights, selfishly, I was able to acquire and highlight that a single digit number 8 for 8nap. Felt it was very fitting, but you're seeing a lot of like um incredible sales. You saw two bolds go this week, one at 14 and one 14.5. It's way below a typical multiple on the floor. And then you saw what had to be probably the buy of this quarter or maybe even the year from a Squiggle perspective, a wrapped ETH for roughly 8 ETH was accepted on Squiggle number 300. So day zero, low color spread, just a phenomenal buy. And for reference, a low color spread day zero sold for 20.99 earlier. So I mean, just really, again, if you're out there and you're putting in the work, there's good opportunity, but it's encouraging to see roughly 500 ETH in volume.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jared, do you have a sense of are these new buyers coming in for Squiggles, or are these like old people, not old, but people who are already holders that are, taking advantage of the low liquidity environment?
It's a mix of both. I won't give away everybody's alpha here, but I've seen some more established buyers get in at WETH and then take out NFTFi loans against them because there's really a high asymmetric risk reward um, play there if you're astute enough. So there's some people who are doing that, but it's been very encouraging that with the dip down to the 8 to 9 area on the floor, it's created an entry point for a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people posting on, not a lot. I've seen a fair number of people on Twitter posting about being able to acquire their first squiggle, which is very, very encouraging. So um, I don't have the statistics in front of me to say definitively one way or the other. Just my gut tells me it's a mix of both.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And it's qualitatively, I'm hearing similar stuff in Discords as well. People feeling like, okay, they can get their first squiggle and they've been waiting a long time for that. So it's exciting to see the holder base expanding, especially this, because squiggles are one of the more concentrated collections just due to the nature of when they released and how few people were paying attention way back then, over 2 years ago. Let's talk about friendship bracelets real quick. Friendship bracelets did not have a great week this week, which represented, I think, the broader generative art market: 121 sales versus 275 last week, 20.4 ETH in volume versus 42.1 the last week. Floor price is still holding. It's 0.145 versus 0.16. There are 2,571 listings. It's not shown here on screen. Liquidity is down, like I said, fairly consistent with everything else. Not a lot to read into here. Just just patiently waiting and seeing how this all manifests.